I'm with Gavin Sheridan from Vizlegal, and we're just getting started. So you're all very welcome. We'll take questions on the chat. So over to you, Gavin.
Thanks a million, Justin. So, um, I suppose a little bit of the background. Vizlegal started out as a system to find high court cases and track them. And the more we spoke to, and both for barristers and for solicitors, and I suppose the more we spoke to practitioners, the more needs we kind of were hearing about that practitioners have in relation to finding information generally and being able to track it. And I suppose we keep adding new features and new coverage to Vizlegal all the time. But our customers kind of range from everything from a sole practitioner in a rural practice all the way up to the largest firms in Dublin. So we have, and everybody in between. So we have circuit court focused small firms, we have sole practitioners, we have large firms, medium to large firms with library functions, litigation specialists, employment specialists, planning specialists would all be typical customers, as well as about 1,000 barristers as well in the law library would be using Vizlegal on a reasonably regular basis for different reasons. But what I'm going to do is, because we don't have a huge amount of time, but you can always contact me on vizlegal.com and go through the contact form there, and happy to do a demo for anybody, is go through some of the key features that we're finding are getting really good traction or feedback from small to medium practices around Ireland. So for example, first one would be the pain that we heard from practitioners in the circuit court was a difficulty around the diaries and knowing when a case was coming up. So what we've done is, what you see here is a calendar view of a firm. I think it's Beecham's, but we can configure this to any firm in Ireland. So we track all the court dates for all the firms across the circuit court lists, across the high court lists, including provincial PI, including the Court of Appeal and including the Supreme Court, where we ingest all of the diaries every day. We match the names of the firms to the date and location of the court event, and then we put that into a calendar that you see here. So for example, I can see here that in the High Court, Fennell and others versus Doyle, Pepper Finance versus Aidan Fitzpatrick, and these are circuit court lists here you see, and then High Court lists here. And we fill these in every day for every firm in the country. So if a firm is to sign up to Vizlegal, we will show you your own court dates that we've kind of extrapolated and calculated from the circuit court diaries and the high court diaries in one place. And then we send an email out to practitioners every morning saying, here's your upcoming court dates for the next couple of weeks. So you're kind of getting a heads up from us. And what practitioners have said to us is that it's like having an extra pair of eyes on the diaries, both the high court and the circuit court diaries, so that the entire team in a firm knows what's coming up. And the way we've done it with small to medium firms is that the practitioners sign up together, and then the executives, the secretaries, and all that, they all get access to Vizlegal in one go if the firm is signing up. And that means everybody's getting those alert emails. Everybody can sign in and see the upcoming court dates for that firm. And in all cases, what we do is we'll link back to say, well, how does Vizlegal know that this case is on in Tullamore before Judge Fergus and it's number 6 on the list and it's on at 10 o'clock? We always link back to where we get that information from to say, this is the circuit court list that we've pulled that data from. And you can see here, Beecham's is representing 2 parties here, but we do it for every firm in the country. So if you do a separate demo with me, I'll show you your own court dates that we've kind of extrapolated from the system. But we also can do that for the High Court. So that would be in the case of First Modular Gas Systems versus Citibank in front of Justice Mulcahy for mention. We'll pull that out. We'll say, well, based on the High Court record here, you've got your listings. It's on the 22nd of February for mention. So we're pulling all that data to make it as easy as possible for solicitors to see upcoming court dates across the system. And I suppose the feedback we've gotten from practitioners on that is that it's saving them a huge amount of time. It's giving them extra bit of reassurance that there's kind of an extra system looking at court dates, so in case they might be missed in a busy practice, for example. But also it's kind of helping the whole team be more efficient about knowing the key dates that are coming up and hopefully reducing the amount of human effort, because some practitioners have said to us that they might have to manually check a circuit court list just to see is any of their cases on or not or coming up. And we're hopefully trying to reduce the need to do that manually and try to automate that as much as possible. once you kind of get the sense that the calendar is coming up with your future court dates, the second thing we're doing is allowing the practitioner to individually track something like a high court case. More focused to a firm that might have more high court cases than circuit court cases, maybe. But the function is there nonetheless for everybody to be able to say, I want to follow this particular case, Bartra versus Bord Panola, where McCann's is representing the plaintiff. You can track that case. You can see when activity happens on the case specifically. So you get notified from Vizlegal when a filing happens by the opposing side, when the listings specifically changes, like in this case, or when an order is perfected. In addition, you never have to write the email to ask for the order. You can request a copy of the order by simply clicking a button, and we'll generate the email for you without you having to write the email each and every time. Again, we're all about how do you save time and having to do those kind of repeated tasks. Can we make it as efficient as possible? And if you're looking for cases to follow in the High Court, we'll also configure this for you related to your firm, so you can see all the recent cases your firm is involved in the High Court, and you can track those cases individually if you want to. But you can track any high court case, not just your own, because what we also do is we send out a couple of alerts to customers every day. That would include all new high court litigation initiated in the high court the previous day. So you can see what cases have been initiated, who is representing the plaintiff in most cases, or sometimes the defendant, depending on the case. So, for example, these are all the cases filed in the high court yesterday. I could say, I'm interested in this case, so say maybe versus SSE. I could click follow on that case, and now I'm tracking it. And I suppose with litigation-focused firms in the circuit or the high court, these are the most popular features we would get feedback on. The ability to see your court dates into the future in the circuit and the high court, the ability to track the high court cases and kind of get a heads up when something happens. And then you're hopefully saving that time and energy on that kind of piece of work. But as you can see here, like on kind of a second level, is we've tried to centralize as much information as possible from different sources into one place. So that would include all of the listed sources you see here, the ECHR, the Court of Justice. Some of these you will never be interested in, that's fine. Some of them you'll be very interested in, and that's fine too. But you can pick and choose which ones you want to search and which ones you want to track. What we've started with our most recent additions is we've added all on board Panola cases available for the last 25 years, so back to 1996. So that gives you a very good overview of all on board Panola cases. We add all new cases as and when they appear. You can track individual cases and you can search all old cases as well. What we've also started working on, we're just finishing, is the addition of 1.7 million planning applications across all 31 local authorities to be searchable and trackable, which is a unique feature. Nobody has ever built a system like this we're aware of before. So that would be an ability that I can go into any individual local authority, say it's Cork County Council where I'm based, and I can see all recent planning applications in Cork, and I can track any individual planning application for the progress as it's being decided. I can also filter by cases that have been appealed to on board Panola. I can see its status. I can see whether it was granted permission or not, and so on. So I can say, well, the 76,000 cases in Cork County Council were granted, 13,000 were refused over the past 20 or so years, depending on how much data we have that we got from the local authority system. So that isn't currently part of the subscription package, but we're rolling that out to customers hopefully next month. And then on top of that, you have all these other sources, which I don't have time to go into, but we have huge amounts of employment practitioners using us because we have very good WRC, Labour Court, EAT, and ET coverage, as well as the ability to get alerts for new decisions and so on. And then we have all the other sources, such as being able to search the circuit court diaries for individual cases if you need to, IPAT decisions, information which is valuation tribunal, irrevocable, and so on. But I'm going to focus on two of these for the moment, just to give you a demonstration of some other key features that we've got feedback on. The first is that when judgments appear from the courts, such as judgments that have come out today, you'll see something like St. Margaret's Recycling and others versus Bord Panola. We'll show you the judgment. You can search the judgments, and like any standard search system, you can search all the text within any given decision. But something that we've uniquely started building is the ability to look at a case in its entirety related to the events in the sequence. So that would be, I'm looking at a High Court judgment here. I've got a High Court judicial review filed on January 26, 2022. I've got an on board Panola case, which was the subject of the judicial review. And I've got the original planning application that precipitated the on board Panola case. I can jump between these and see each one, and I can jump into the inspector's report at the on board Panola level, or I can jump forward to the High Court record and see it was Hamilton Turner representing the plaintiff. Then I can jump forward to the High Court judgment, and I can see that it's Justice Siobhan Phelan delivering the judgment yesterday in the High Court, and see all the details of the case. So that timeline feature that we call it at the top here, we've built that for every court judgment available. So that would be 24 years of judgments in the Irish courts. You can see them all here. I can filter by High Court judgments only, where the judge, say, was Gareth Simons. I can see a recent one here, say on Tashka versus the Aquaculture License Appeals Board. Typically, for non-complicated litigation, you might see just a High Court judgment and a High Court record, and field official representing the plaintiff here, and then the High Court judgment subsequently. And what we're trying to save you here again is time and hassle, because traditionally, if you're using the court's website, you might only have this, and you have no context to see, is there other steps in the litigation? How do I get to the High Court record? And so on. So it's this idea that everything is joined and contextualized across different sources. And, obviously for more complicated litigation, you might say, well, show me recent Supreme Court cases, such as the case of John O'Mara versus the minister. Here you have 3 Supreme Court decisions by Wolf, O'Donnell, and Hogan. The determination, that was a leapfrog appeal, the High Court judgment, and then the initial judicial review of a case around widower's pension. So this idea here is that everything is there without you having to jump. And just to emphasize, if you are looking at it on the court's website, you don't have any other, you have to do another search to try and find, if you want to find the determination, then you have to do another search if you want to find the High Court judgment, and another search if you want to find the original High Court record that started the whole process. The third thing I'll mention that is a constant kind of source of, I would call it anxiety for practitioners, the way they describe it to me, is the rules. So obviously the rules and practice instructions are constantly changing and being updated. It can be hard to keep up because they do change relatively frequently. So we have gone back to consolidate all of that Superior, Circuit, and District Court rules back to inception, and all of the practice instructions. And we make them all available to our customers. There's, there's hundreds of rules and practice instructions, but we also update them as and when they change in real time. And then we notify all of our customers to let them know that a rule or practice instruction has changed or has been introduced. So for example, HC 125 was introduced on February the 6th. It's a change to HC 71, which has been removed, which is around payment on account of cost pending taxation. This is the new practice instruction. It was introduced just this month. We would have emailed all of our customers to say this new practice instruction has been published. It substitutes HC 71, which we still have, but we've struck it through to say that it was discontinued on February the 6th. So we say this is now the currently enforced practice instruction when it comes to payment on account of cost pending adjudication. We are constantly updating the rules. So we have, so for example, the new District Court rule, Order 40, this is for GDPR cases, was amended by SI 13, 2024. That came into operation in January 2024. So we have the fully up-to-date version of this rule. Now, if you're relying on the court's version, this may or may not be consolidated, and it may not be updated with the latest version. And in this case, it's not. So they haven't updated. They're still relying on the 2016 and 2014 SIs. We're using the 2024, 2029, 2016, and 2014 SIs. In particular, SI 2024, which introduced this new rule, Rule 11, which is around data protection cases at the district court level. And you can see as well from looking at the list of amendments and changes that we have by looking at the dates here, that on average, we're updating rules and practice directions 3-4 times a month. So you can see here in December, the new planning and environment practice direction from the High Court, the motions and other applications, trial, proceedings related to indictable offences and affidavits in the Circuit Court. These were all updated in November and December. And going back, you can see all the rules changes in the Superior, Circuit, and District Courts that are constantly happening. The feedback we get from practitioners of all shapes and sizes is that they really want to know when the rules have changed, or the practice directions have changed, or new ones have been introduced, what it might mean. So we'll have a full consolidation. For example, here's our full consolidation of this rule, but also we'll add links to say, Form 40, Form 40.02, without having you go into the forms part of the court's website to try and find Appendix X in Schedule C or whatever it is, as well as just being able to have an easy to print, easy to read version of the rule. So practitioners said to us that this is extremely valuable because they're able to see a consolidated version as well as get the alerts to the changes, which are happening all too frequently, which can be hard to keep up with, especially if you're quite busy with lots of other things. So you'll get that as an email from us saying there's a new rule of practice direction or it's been amended. And I suppose that mixed with the two other features that I mentioned, which is the ability to search all of the things, and I'll mention search briefly. And you can see here other sources as well from the UK, from the English and Welsh jurisdictions as well, all similar judgments, decisions of tribunals, and so on. But the ability for me to say search for a phrase, let's say it's Aarhus Convention, if I'm interested in environmental litigation, for example, I'll search for it across all of Vizlegal. It'll take 1 second, and then I can search within Irish judgments and see recent judgments where that phrase was used, which is these cases here. I can filter by the judge. I can say I only want to see Judge Humphrey's versions or judgments that mention that phrase, or Garth Simons, or Judge Holland, or Barnable. But one of the key features that practitioners have told us that they really rely on is the ability to save that as an alert. So if you press this button up here to start, that will create an alert. And then you can get an alert the next time a judge uses that word or phrase. So for example, here I've got one Aarhus Convention recent alerts. I've got here next time the Labour Court is a defendant in a High Court case, for example. The next time the phrase data breach is used in an Irish judgment was the last time was on January 17th. The next time road traffic accident is mentioned in a judgment of the courts, whether that's the Supreme Court of Appeal, High Court, or if published a district or circuit court judgment. You can see here Higgins versus the Motor Insurance Bureau, Bureau of Ireland. I could say, well, where was road traffic accident mentioned? And it was mentioned right at the start. And you'll get alerted to that fact in your My Alerts tab. And you'll get an email from us to say, Gavin, there's a new judgment out. It contains that phrase that you're looking for. And you can then keep up to date with those over time. And certainly among small practices that are our customers, such as McCarthy & Co. in Cork or Morris Power in Limerick, they will say to us, mixing the rules and practice directions updates with your calendar alerts, with the ability to track high court cases, with the alerts for keywords or key phrases, as well as being able to see all the new litigation, say, entering the high court system, is a powerful set of capabilities that they really find extremely useful and saves them a lot of time. As I say, I won't go into all of these sources, and as I said, planning applications are not quite there yet, but we are finalizing work on this so that you'll be able to search any field within any planning application, whether that's the description. If you're interested, I could say solar farm, show me all planning applications that contain that phrase. It's 431. I can see here broken down by county. Most of them are in Cork. If it's planning authority, you could say Cork County Council. Most recently, October in Charleville, a planning application was filed for a solar farm here. And if I want, I can look at the location of where that planning application has been filed against. So we have a lot of planning customers in large firms, and they're very interested in the ability for them to scrutinize and keep up to date with these developments. The very last thing I'll mention is there is an additional email a customer can create to say, you know what, I don't want specific alerts for specific things. I just want to get a list of all newly decided cases of Morpernala. So that will come in as a separate email saying, Morpernala has decided, 25 cases, here they all are. Without you having to go back to the weekly lists to check what's happened. Equally, I could say, just give me a list of all the Labour Court decisions. Equally, I could say, I want to know of any new JRs or any new MCAs filed every morning from the previous day. Likewise, I could say, tell me all new legal cost adjudication decisions, because you might be interested in an LCA decision that contains details of how much was charged by a barrister or solicitor in a given case if that information is published. But likewise, for any of these sources, you could say, look, if new issue comes out, just let me know. This comes in as a kind of standard pro forma email that just lists out all the activity of the sources that you choose to watch. I've gone into 20 minutes, Justin. I could go on for another 40 minutes. If anybody does want to get a longer demo to go into the weeds on a lot of the features, because there's a lot more features, you're more than welcome to contact me directly on the website.
Sure. I suppose though we'll take any questions that people would have on the chat, but I mean we do have another sort of 8 or 9 minutes to play with, so
happy to listen to any questions, or if nobody has questions, I'm happy to keep going. But I would say it's that feedback we get from the small to medium practitioners is that ability to do things like search the circuit court diaries. As I said, I can go into look at my calendar and say, look, here's next month into March. I can go into April. I can say, look, there's a Court of Appeal case on here, carrying key management, Dublin City Council. And we're kind of doing a lot of work in the background because we're indexing an awful lot of different of the lists and diaries that you see on the court's website. And that means that we're kind of trying to match every reference number to each underlying reference number to a High Court record number to the firms that are on the case or that you've identified. Um, and I see a question there on family and probate lists. So probate, not right now. What we've done is from the High Court point of view, we will, if we can identify the name of the firm, we can index the diaries that are published on the court's website to recognize the firms that are involved. There's no High Court record system specifically for family and probate lists, so you can't track individual cases because they're just not published. But we can, such as, for example, in relation to those type of diaries, we do, for example, ingest the word of court or the assisted decision-making diaries. And then we match that, oh, this firm is involved. And then we put that into your diary automatically to say, let's say you're a McCann Fitzgerald or a Field Fisher or whatever. If that firm name is mentioned in that diary that's published, we will put that into your diary. So we can add that to, if it's necessary for the lists that are published on the court's website, if that's something people need. Because if it was the case that the family lists are published and they contain the names of the firms, we can add that into your diary if we detect that it's your firm that's involved, if that makes sense, Emer. When it comes to, Katrina, when it comes to probate rules and licensing, we don't have I think you mean the district court licensing. We don't have that because nobody has particularly asked us for it. When it comes to probate, again, we could look at adding the probate rules. As you can see here, if I go into rules and practice directions, we currently have the Superior Court rules consolidated, the Circuit District, all the practice directions of each court, and the Labour Court rules, which were just updated very recently, back last month. So these are the consolidated, up-to-date versions of the Labour Court rules. If there was demand for, and if people were coming on a call with me and we were going through this together and I was describing the current features and you said to me, would it be possible to look at the practice directions from a conveyancing point of view or from a probate point of view or rules? We could definitely take a look at that because it's something we're very interested in. We have built a very robust system for identifying changes to rules, updating the rules, consolidating the rules. So we're very interested in hearing more about these kind of issues. Certainly, some practitioners have said to us as well around the practice directions in Tailteann Éireann. They're changing reasonably frequently as well, I've been told. So maybe there's a demand or a need for a better, kind of more cohesive way for keeping an eye on those kind of things. But certainly, I'd love to talk to both Katrina and Emer about your needs, because if you contact me, I'd love you could describe to me in greater detail the problem, because we're very open to adding in features like that if people think they need them.
Now, just a quick question for you, Gavin. Like, from a smaller practitioner or a sole practitioner, like, what are the sort of costs involved in this? Now, you probably don't want to get into
yeah. So
pricing, but is it thousands of euro or
no?
tens of thousands of euro? Or?
If you take a typical sole practitioner who would maybe have one legal executive working with him in a small rural practice, we would start out at €1,090 a year, and both the practitioner and the team in the office, let's say it's one or two people like a secretary and executive, would both get access to Vizlegal as well. If it's a slightly larger firm, such as 5-person practice, which is say a busy circuit court practice, for example, which is some of our customers, we would charge the €1,090 per year against each practitioner. If it's your first year, we can definitely talk about an introductory discount to make sure that you're happy with the product and at the end of year one that it's working for you. So we're happy to talk discounts in the first year, and that would then be charged against the practitioners. And then, as I said again, executives, secretaries, any other non-practitioners in the firm would all get their own accounts as well in Vizlegal, so that everybody can see the firm calendar, everybody can see the rules, everybody can access what they need to. The prices are exclusive of VAT, so it's 1,090 ex VAT. And then to answer Katrina's second question there, it's it can be on your desktop, just like you're seeing here on your browser. It can be on your tablet because you can sign into Vizlegal in your browser, in your tablet. It's not yet on the App Store and the Play Store, although we are working on rolling that out later this year. And it can be on your phone. So we have barristers who are in the forecourts with Vizlegal on their phones, checking rules, checking judgments, getting alerts all the time. And we have solicitors in lots and lots of firms. We have about 700-800 solicitors using us now on a very regular basis. And they would all have, to varying degrees, they might have Vizlegal on their phone, they might have Vizlegal on their tablet, they might have it on their work computer, they might have it on a home computer. We're really keen to keep the price as low as possible, but keep as much capability and kind of flexibility as possible. So that means that if you're traveling up the country to a circuit court hearing and that's not in your own county, you have to get there, that Vizlegal is available on your phone or on your work laptop when you're traveling. So it's all accessible. We don't do anything around IP addresses, limiting your access. It's accessible whatever devices you need. And there is kind of and just to describe it, if it is on your mobile, this is what it looks like, because it does kind of dynamically allow you to see what you can kind of see there. If it's on your mobile, this is what it would look like. So I can go in very easily and I can just browse. I don't even have to search. I can just say, look, show me recent judgments of the courts. And there's a Court of Appeal decision came out today. There's a new Court of Appeal decision here. I can go in and look at that and say, okay, it's McManus, and this looks like it's something around the rules interpretation. I can jump back and I can see, okay, who represented the plaintiff? Sherwin O'Riordan, McKenna McArdle representing Bird and Bird involved, and then there's a High Court judgment. So you can imagine having this on your phone. As well as that, I can go in and look at my calendar for my firm on my phone, and I can say, okay, I've got the circuit court case in Tullamore. I've got a circuit court case in here as well. I've got Simon Mackley's here, or I can jump forward to the 23rd. I can say what have I got? I've got Tullamore again. I've got Trim number 16 on the list on the 23rd at 10 o'clock. Mars Capital Finance. I've got Trim again. I've got Justin McDonald in the High Court at 10:45. Again, not every case might be your case, but what we're trying to do is make it so that everybody can see what's going on across the firm, as well as being able to track individually your own High Court cases. Or if you're in court, and this has happened only recently, we were speaking to a customer last month. Somebody says, well, according to rule X, this is what you're supposed to do. What's happening sometimes is that the rules are not necessarily being updated frequently or being updated to reflect the consolidation. We've had situations where two practitioners are in court and one says, well, actually, no, that rule has been amended since then. The other practitioner might not be aware. And it's because we've alerted to them that the changes that are happening on the rules on a regular basis. And then that's extremely useful from a kind of a risk mitigation perspective, where you're not necessarily relying on a rule that might have been amended, but also that you're getting that reassurance is that when you're looking at Order 40 affidavits, it was last amended on the 31st of March 2021, linked to the course version. We don't rely on the course version for our consolidation. We do our own independent consolidation. But we also link to the SIs as and when they are updated. And just being able to type in, look, I'm looking for Order 67 of the District Court or the Circuit Court General. There it is there. That's the consolidation. Our customers have told us this is so easy to look up, so nice to print. You're not getting all the gunk necessarily that sometimes comes with printing these things. We try to make it easy and as clean as possible.
Good. Thanks, Gavin. We're just coming up into the last minute or so. So I might just share my screen just to talk about the future sessions.
No problem. I'll stop sharing mine now.
And
there you go.
I'll just see whether this comes up for us now. Is my screen up there yet? No.
It is.
Okay. Whoops. I think I've got the right one. Sorry. Leave things open. If anyone has a last question there for Gavin, can you see my screen there now? It should be coming up.
It's showing us PowerPoint.
Yeah.
There you go. We can see it now. Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about next week's or 2 weeks' time session is information for practitioners on the library services. So there's a huge amount of resources for free via the library, subject matter guides, precedents, etc. So we just want to kind of refresh that for everybody. So you are all members of the Law Society. This is a free service generally. So I think everyone should be keen on finding out more about it. And then on the 20th of March, we're going to Let's Talk Technology in My Legal Practice. So building on what Gavin has been talking about today with regards to trying to use technology to become more efficient in our offices. So I'd like to, and also just to say that if anyone has any questions about running a practice or any other queries that they have or want to find out stuff within the Law Society, you can email me on jpersonal@lawsociety.ie, and I'm happy to have a consultation with you or share information with you via email.
And just to say, if anybody wants to do a deeper dive into Vizlegal and what we can do, you can just visit our website and there's a contact sales button there, and I'll get back to you right away.